You guys know what time it is. Get strapped in and ready for some good times. This is the Blowed Out Podcast.
What is up, everybody? It is I, your favorite fatty with a natty, coming to you from the beautiful, the hot, and the currently without power Ogden, Utah. So it's a little different. I'm currently sitting here surrounded by those cute little pumpkin lights that you put out on your porch. So a little bit different vibe to the show tonight. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to drink the natties a little faster so they don't get warm, but, you know, that sucks. This is, it's kind of double-edged. So unfortunately that means that I won't be able to publish this tonight when I'm finished. But it is right in the ballpark of some of the stuff I wanted to bring up on this episode. The catastrophic flooding, fires, I don't know, earthquake now in Alaska. Sorry, I'm down to one laptop. Let's see. Hurricanes, tornadoes, good Lord, you name it. I was thinking about this. We've talked about it before, many, many moons ago. If this all doesn't seem awfully coincidental to anyone else besides me, I don't know what does. If this doesn't, have some geopolitical, coinkydinks surrounding it. Now, of course, I could absolutely be wrong. I'm not saying run out and grab your tinfoil hats just yet. But most of the places that these things are happening, and granted not all, you can't have it all be too obvious, but a lot of the places these things are taking place are also places who have pissed in the government's Cheerios lately. Wouldn't you agree? Utah banned banned probably isn't the correct word, but said no to the big, huge land sell-off in central Utah, and now the last I saw, it's just under 15,000 acres, zero contained, crazy-ass fire in San Juan County, with flame NATOs and some holy shit. Kinda sounds like Hawaii. Texas peed in some Cheerios. They did some crazy stuff with weed, and which I don't care, but they did some stuff that wasn't necessarily what they were supposed to do according to big government. And now they have all this crazy stuff happening. And again, you know, I try not to be that guy. I just try and go, what if? What if they just said, hey, dude in the Arctic, turn HAARP up to 11 for a few minutes and aim it, here, and here. New York, Chicago, all these places that aren't exactly doing what Washington wants them to do, are all of a sudden having all these crazy once-in-a-lifetime, or at least possibly once-in-our-lifetime catastrophes happening. Now, that being said, I feel terrible for anyone who is being affected by these things. My heart absolutely goes out. My thoughts, prayers. I don't pray, but that's what you're supposed to say. So just to make it sound better, if I did pray, I would be praying for you. I did not see an update on the Alaska thing as of this recording. It sounded like there was a tsunami imminent for, the lower little leg thingy down by Kodiak. Sand Hill, I think is what it was called. Sorry, I'm in the pitch dark here, so literally. So if my information's a little skewed, I apologize. Also, this audio should be much better than the last episode. I apologize. There were a couple of things that I did not pick up on during editing. Some of our stuff is getting old and beat up, but I think we chased it down to some crummy batteries. And I just literally on the little bits and pieces while I was editing and uploading, I didn't pick up on them without being in the headphones. So sorry again for that. Hope you bear with us. We definitely try not to do it all the time. I've mentioned before, it's really kind of a pain in the ass because we tear down and set up in between every episode. So, man, this is, 54 now? 54 times of having to try and make sure we get it dialed right back in every single time. It doesn't help when we were trying to go wireless last episode on a couple of microphones just to facilitate a bigger crowd, and I think that's what ultimately bit us in the ass. So, yeah, for next time. All we got to do is be better than we were yesterday, right? So where does that leave us, you ask? Well, where do we start? Karen Bass? Oh, my God. Really? Has she learned nothing over the last, 6-8 weeks? Apparently not. Now, allegedly, again, I have to preface myself, what we see and hear on mainstream media, God only knows if it's the truth, but allegedly she wants to give all these poor immigrants and all these people who are too scared to go to work a couple $100 to get by. Okay, let's break that down. A, what the hell does she think a couple $100 is going to do? And by couple, I literally mean couple. Like 200 or 300, I believe she was quoted as saying. So, okay, that's, one trip to the store for a week if you're really frugal and have kids. A tank of gas or 2 tanks of gas. But apparently you're not going anywhere, so you don't need gas. Come on, man, just knock it off. And then trying to interfere with federal things. Now look, anyone who follows me or the page, I generally don't say much on the page, and I should. But anyone who follows my personal stuff knows I try not to take sides. I'll talk shit on either side because I don't necessarily agree or disagree with what you're saying or doing. That's not you. That's not them. That's not they. That depends literally statement to statement, person to person, day to day, minute to minute. Someone I wholeheartedly agreed with 2 minutes ago may say something now that I absolutely disagree with. So I try not to take sides, and you guys know that. Damn it. I should have taken sides on where I was going with that. However, why? I just saw a thing locally that people in my local neck of the woods, my absolute closest neck of the woods, Ogden, were saddened and disappointed to find out that our local sheriff's department, Weber County Sheriff's Department, was agreeing to the federal demands that they hand over any people who are on the list that may be arrested by them, may be already incarcerated by them, maybe being detained by them, whatever it may be. If they're on the list or if they fall within whatever parameters those may be, that they will hand them over to ICE or the feds or, HSI or whatever appropriate agency that may be. And a bunch of people were commenting on the face space, how saddened and disappointed they were, and they couldn't believe that Weber County was jumping on board with this. Wow. First of all, I don't know about you, but the last time I checked, I did what they told me I was supposed to do at my job. So it's not the Weber County Sheriff's Department's fault for getting a federal directive and going, you bet, boss, we will follow that because you told us we have to. And I'm sure as hell not willing to get arrested for saying no or for failure to follow it. And that's happening all over the country, and people are somehow like baffled by this. I don't understand that logic. How does that work? You think that you can go to your job and they say, well, Jeremy, sorry for any Jeremys out there, but Jeremy, your job is to, pick up dog poop. You say, nope, I refuse to do that. It's against my moral compass or my personal constitution. Okay, well, there's the door, and have a nice life. Not, oh, okay. Well, in that case, then you don't have to. We're sorry. That's not how it works. That's not life. And these are the same people who find, apparently this week, the thumbs up emoji offensive. These are the people who say, well, that's not fair. Well, I don't care if it's a law. That's not fair. Holy shit, pumpkin. You're right. It's not fair. Life is not fair. Nothing is fair. Nothing is free. Nothing is fair. The only thing that's free is air, and that's barely. And it just depends on how you look at it. That's just how it works. And these snowflakes that think that just because their moral compass doesn't align with it, then it shouldn't be happening. That's just not how life works. And you guys all know that, but my God, where the hell did things take such a horrific wrong turn that you have, these folks, like I said, even like Karen Bass. See, I circled back. She's not even, I wouldn't assume by looking at her, that she's even young enough to qualify to be a millennial or a Gen Z or an alpha or any of these other youngsters who seem to think that this is how life works. I just don't get it. Like, how did you make it that far in life with that logic? It just blows my mind. I wish someone could give me some insight to that because I can't wrap my head around it. We'd have got our asses whooped with a belt or a spoon or a shoe or something else. And of course now they say, well, you were abused as a child. Call it what you want, but I made out okay. It whooped my fat ass into line is what it did, abuse or not. Funny story. My mother, rest her soul, didn't realize once upon a time we had moved into a new place when I was young, or ish. We moved around a lot. She worked for Uncle Sugar and was on a lot of different programs, and just the way it is. Doesn't bother me. I don't feel like I had a bad childhood or anything else, but regardless, we moved a lot. So we moved into a new place one time about, probably 15 miles from where I live now is all. A place called West Point. Locals will know, but it was where the house where my kid sister was actually born. But she didn't apparently do enough pre-planning when they picked out this place. Because the bedroom that ultimately would become mine had a lock on the door. And I was 10. Yeah, I was like 9.5. Just a hair shy of 10. My kid sister and I are almost 10 years apart exactly. So, like I said, and I remember her getting mad at me and chasing me down the stairs with the belt into the basement. And it was, like a 60s, probably a mid to late 60s Rambler. So you go down the stairs and you go left at the bottom of the stairs. And the stair was just a big long hall straight down. And at the bottom of the stairs, you could go left into like a big living room, or you could go right into a laundry room, like cold storage kind of thing. But then there was a pass-through on the other end. So when I knew old Ma was coming after me with the heat, I could hightail it down the stairs, and then she didn't know if I was going to go left or right, so I could button hook her at the bottom of the stairs and pull a quick one and run around through the pass-through and get into my room and lock the door before she could catch me. And then she would get mad as hell because I would just stand on the other side of the locked door with her screaming to let her in. Like, I might be fat and stupid, but I ain't dumb. I'm not going to unlock the door and let you in to whoop my ass with a belt. You can maybe go back upstairs, cool off for a little while, and then I'll come up when I hear the footsteps stop stomping. Sorry. Then we can talk about it. Catherine. You really want to rile them up, call them by their first name. That's a good time. Anyhow, that made me think about that because it would piss her off to no end that she couldn't do a damn thing about it. I was like, you're the one that bought a house with a lock on the kids' door. I'm not dumb enough to open it. Womp womp. That, along with many, many other reasons, over the next 40 years is probably why I can't sleep. It's because she's still mad and she's still haunting me. I love her dearly, though. We had some great times. Anyhow, kids, if you're listening, pick the bedroom with a lock on the door. Wink, wink. Well, on that note, I am going to attempt to go take a very dark bathroom break, kids. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Are you a business owner or marketing director for your company? Would you like to explore the potential benefits of advertising on the show? The Blowed Out Podcast currently reaches listeners in over 104 cities spread across 13 countries worldwide. To explore advertising options, including budgeting and frequency, email us at blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com and be sure to include marketing in the subject line.
All right, guys, we're back, and just in the nick of time. I'm not gonna lie, I was having a real moment there in the darkness. I was going to call it a Helen Keller moment, where I was at a crossroads, and that's probably too much information. However, luckily, right about the time I was in that moment of decision, the power came back on. So I had to wait a few minutes for the air conditioning and the ice maker and everything to catch up. But what that allowed me to do was go down a bit of a rabbit hole, which is the news feed. Unfortunately, that also allowed me to realize, and not even realize, but just kind of step back for a minute and go, oh my God, this is a shit show. And I'm sure most of you that follow the news already know this. My God, what are we doing? What are we actually doing at the moment? And I say we, as a globe, as a population, as a world. This doesn't only apply to the U.S. because, a lot of you listening aren't in the U.S., and I appreciate that, and you should tell all your friends, and hopefully they listen too. But my point is that we are in a gnarly, probably death spiral. at this point. And I had a whole bunch of stuff go through my head, and I've been looking for, I don't know, probably 20 minutes now waiting for all this stuff to catch up and stop making noise in the background. But my point to all this is we need to stop. And not we as in you or I, but collectively. Collectively, this shit spiral is going to end up not good, and I don't think there's anyone who would disagree. The unpopular opinion is that regardless of what the current administration is doing, again, I try not to take sides, so I'm not saying that I agree with the deportations across the board or the birthright stuff or any of that. At the end of the day, we, at least in the U.S., and that's only because that's all I can speak for, are 99 point, I would dare say, 8% here because of immigrants. So, and I know we've talked about it before a little bit, so I absolutely don't have a problem with immigrants or immigration. Yes, there's a correct way to go about it. No, it's not as easy as it was 100 or 150 years ago. It's not as easy as just showing up to Ellis Island and writing your name in the book or, whatever. God knows what they had to go through back then, based on TV. But, so that can't be across the board. And earlier, I told a story about my mother and I having issues. And obviously there were a lot of things we didn't see eye to eye on for years and years and years and years. Probably all of my years. But I think that if she were still here, one thing that we could agree on is that regardless of who is running this country or all of the heads that are running the countries need to stop acting like goddamn children. Because if you scroll through your news feed, it's just garbage on top of garbage on top of garbage. And yes, again, who knows if any of it's actually true. But at the end of the day, the people who are in positions of power that are supposed to be representing us, supposed to be speaking for us and acting for us, are acting like fucking children. And that needs to stop immediately. I'm nobody. I'm no one. But I am personally calling on all of them to stop acting like children, for the love of God. Not only is it not conducive to actually coming to any sort of a resolution for any of these matters, regardless of what they are, it's actually detrimental to the population of the world. And yes, I realize that it's been that way for a long time. I get that. But my God, if not now, then we are doomed. We're just doomed. We cannot continue the way we are going globally and not expect to die out like Rome or have something similar to the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, where we just have a hard reset because we fold in on ourselves and then have to start all over. Now again, this is, I assume most of you guys have heard of that, but it suggests that we have done this before. And somewhere around 12,000 years ago, 13,000 years ago, there was a hard reset, and we've had to rebuild. And that explains stuff like the pyramids or, Göbekli Temple, which I'm sure I screwed that name up. But all of these things, even Rome, eventually fold in on themselves if they can't figure it out. And I don't want that for my kids or their kids or their kids. But something has to happen. All these elected officials, all these folks who are supposed to be speaking for us and on our behalves, need to stop acting like children. Please and thank you. Please. There's just no two good ways around it. I like I said, if you scroll through your news feed, it's just the dumbest junior high bullshit that you've ever seen in your life. Well, Sally put gum in Billy's hair. It just dumb shit. Somebody threw a spit wad at me. Christ, knock it off. That's not why we elected you. That is not why we entrust you to speak for us. All of you, globally. And I'm not saying everyone's guilty, but come on. Come on. Now we have buttons, and not good buttons. And if someone pushes one, we're screwed, kids. You all know that. I really hope it doesn't come to that. I really want to just go outside and touch grass, go fishing and camping. Come on. Now I'm also not advocating that you go block a freeway, because I'm absolutely against that. I'm against blocking people's free will. So the protests, knock it off. You can go stand on the side of the road with your sign. I'm all for that. Free speech? Absolutely. Get her done. I'll honk and wave. You stand in the road, you're impeding my ability to continue on with my life. It's going to end differently. Also, any of those things, I'm all for. However, if you feel like that's a better option, again, go fishing, go camping, go explore a mountain. There's so many great things in life that I haven't had the chance to explore, and possibly never will, but I hope you all do. I hope everyone does. But if we can't get this shit figured out, there's no hope. And I really hope that it doesn't come to that. I really, really hope that. I hope that everyone can stop acting like children and figure everything out. Is there always going to be, egos and conflicts? Sure. The Middle East? I'm sorry, guys. If anyone's listening in the Middle East, I'm sorry. It's only been going on for, 5,000 years. But again, figure it out. Just, for God's sakes, we gotta figure it out, guys. And again, I'm nobody, but I'm asking, please. I realize that for most of us, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And it also doesn't mean that we should hole up and just give up. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying get outside, go enjoy life, and pray to God that we still can tomorrow. Speaking of which, we talked about it a little bit on the last episode, and I am working on getting our good friend Charles on the podcast. So for a pretty good insight as to how good a lot of us actually have it, not that, I bounce around, but we're going to get Charles on the podcast, and he's going to tell us his story, having to flee Cameroon as a refugee and come to the United States and do it the way he's supposed to. So it should be very interesting. It is very interesting, sorry. to hear it from that side of things. As we're working on that, and a couple other guests that I've threatened, just with schedules and everything, it's a logistical nightmare, but I promise you they're coming. So that is going to be a thing, but like I said, we've got to figure something out sooner than later. That's just all there is to it. All that being said, I would like to implore all of you guys to send us questions. I'd like to start doing a thing, and I know that a lot of people do it, but we're going to do it. So if you have questions, feel free to send them to us, email or message us. We're going to answer them on the show, or I'll answer them. I'm pretty sure I can get Maddie on board as well, but send us your questions, your comments, blowoutpodcast@gmail.com, or on Facebook. TikTok is under my personal, and I'm in the process of starting a separate page for Blowed Out stuff. But I'd like to get a bunch of stuff rolling, and get some more listener engagement. So let's shoot for that. Send me some stuff. Send us some stuff. Send us some ideas. Send us your comments, your questions, your death threats, whatever. I feel like this episode has definitely been all over the place, but in reality, it's probably been pretty close to normal, other than the power being out. But, I hope everybody is having a good time and enjoys the show. Tell your friends, tell everybody, give us a listen. Again, send us some feedback. This episode of the show is brought to you by Evolution Design Works. If you're in the neck of the woods in northern Utah, or Utah in general, and need custom steel fabrication or woodwork, also die-cut vinyl graphics or signs, hit them up, rs.evolutionsw@gmail.com, or you can also use the blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com email. Just reference Evolution in the subject line. You can also reach out to them on Facebook. Also brought to you by Pro Graphics. If you're in need of a wrap or some graphics for your motorcycle, these guys are fantastic. We love them. They're good friends. Hit them up at Pro Graphics with an X, PROGRAPHIX307@gmail.com. They've got your bike ready to go with some hot wraps in the hill climb community. Like I said, we love them. They're good friends of ours. In the meantime, guys, that's enough for my rambling this time. We will talk at you guys soon. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all know how much it means for me to get on here and share these stories and talk shit with y'all. Sounds dumb, but it's kind of a big deal for me. So thanks again, guys. Cheers.